All right, let's dive into something really unsettling today. A deep dive that takes us right to the dark edges of, well, human behavior. We're looking at a specific corner of the American frontier, unpacking excerpts from the Skinner brothers, backwoods butchers of Thunderbird County. It's a pretty chilling report by Isaac Cooper from the Dennis Times-Tribune.
Yeah, and our goal here isn't just, telling a scary story, even though the source definitely has plenty of that. It's more about pulling back the curtain on this unique and frankly terrifying group, trying to understand what really drove them and why this legend just persists. This deep dive is really digging into what happens when human cruelty sort of becomes the point itself, stripped of all the usual reasons for crime we normally see.
Exactly. We want to go beyond just the shocking headlines. Pull out the key details about this group. They're so enigmatic, so brutal. The aim is to help you understand something that's genuinely disturbing because it justifies almost any typical criminal motivation you might think of. So, okay, let's get into the specifics then. Who are the Skinner brothers? Because the source makes it clear they're way more than just a standard gang. They're called a loose nomadic brotherhood of sadists and murderers, often just called the Butchers of the Backwoods. Quite a name.
And what's really key about them is where they operate. These rugged timberlands, lonely, unmarked trails in Thunderbird County. But they don't have a fixed territory, no base. They're described as constantly wandering from camp to camp. This nomadic thing isn't just incidental, it's core to how terrifying and elusive they are.
And this is where they really stand apart, isn't it, from almost any other criminal group. Most gangs, they want gold, power, land, something tangible. But the Skinners, the report says, they crave only blood. It explicitly calls them predators, driven by a thirst for cruelty rather than profit. What does that really tell us about them psychologically?
Well, it tells us almost everything, doesn't it? This complete lack of interest in material stuff is, honestly, maybe their most disturbing trait.
Hmm.
When they attack, yeah, they take what they can use right then, lives, axes, hides. But incredibly, they leave valuables to rot in the mud. With most criminals, even the really extreme ones, you can usually find some logic, right? Profit or power, maybe revenge. The Skinners just shatter that. They force you to consider cruelty as, well, as its own reward. A pathology where the act itself is the only goal. It's like an active rejection of normal criminal gain.
That's a really chilling way to put it. And the acts themselves, legendary brutality, the source calls it. It details methods that are just truly horrifying. Extreme dismemberment, desecration.
Exactly. They don't just kill people. They leave these grotesque warnings, things like torsos nailed to trees or strung up by tendons. It's explicitly meant to terrorize anyone who finds them. And the survivor accounts, which are incredibly rare, by the way they talk about unimaginable suffering. People being skinned alive, roasted, which shows their goal wasn't just death. No, it was about inflicting the absolute maximum amount of agony possible.
Wow. It really sounds like their whole existence is just designed to maximize fear and pain. The report also goes into their lifestyle, which sounds incredibly primitive and seems to feed right into this cruelty, living off the land, hunting game and travelers alike. But the detail about them blending human remains with the carcasses of deer and elk, that's particularly disturbing. What's that about beyond just survival?
Oh, it's way beyond survival. Blending human and animal remains like that. It creates this sort of ritualistic, symbolic landscape of terror. It's a deliberate desecration. It completely blurs the line between human and prey, reinforcing their predatory nature and just their utter contempt for human life. It's not just messy, it's a message of absolute horror.
And their appearance, their camps, they seem to just reinforce this primal, horrific image. No dress code, the report says, wearing scavenged rough hides and ragged clothing streaked with blood and filth. Many described with long, matted beards and wild eyes, more animal than man.
Yeah, and the camps themselves,
They,
just as bad. Littered with bones, half-eaten carcasses, and trophies carved from human skin. Sometimes just thrown together shelters using stolen canvas and bone. Or sometimes they just seize camps from travelers they've dealt with.
it paints such a vivid, disturbing picture, a complete rejection of civilization, really.
And their elusiveness, it's largely down to that exact nomadic lifestyle. Makes them impossible to root out, as the report puts it. They're constantly moving. One week, terrorizing the high forests near Ironwood Crossing. The next, they've vanished into remote canyons or setting traps on lonely roads. This constant movement is absolutely key to their survival and impact.
Which makes them incredibly dangerous even to try and hunt down. There's that chilling detail that attempts to hunt them often end with search parties disappearing without a trace. So given how unique and terrifying they are, the big question is, where did a group like this even come from?
The report looks at a few theories, right? It does, yeah. And none of them are particularly comforting. One idea is they started as failed trappers driven mad by isolation and starvation, turned on each other and everyone else. Another theory suggests they were maybe outcasts who found each other in the wilderness, bonded over this shared bloodlust, a sort of self-selecting group of the absolute worst. And then there are even darker rumors, suggesting they performed primitive rituals, painting themselves with blood under the moonlight, maybe offering flayed skin to some dark forest spirit, that kind of thing.
Whatever their actual origins, their impact on Thunderbird County is undeniable. Like the source says, just their name alone is enough to freeze the blood of any rancher or trapper traveling alone. And that final line about their goal really sums it all up. They do not want your gold or your land. They want your screams.
Huh.
So we've just taken a deep dive into this truly chilling phenomenon of the Skinner brothers, a group seemingly driven by nothing but pure sadism, existing completely outside normal society, outside normal crime.
It's pretty staggering when you think about it. A group whose whole reason for being seems to be cruelty and dismemberment, operating with no clear motive beyond just inflicting terror. It really forces you to reconsider, typical criminal psychology and what we usually think drives human behavior, even the bad stuff.
And that really leads to a profound question for you, listening right now. Given this complete disconnect from civilization, these unique non-materialistic motives, what does the existence of something like the Skinner brothers tell us about the absolute depths human depravity can reach, when it's completely untethered from societal rules or even the desire for profit? And maybe even deeper, what does it say about the nature of fear itself, when the thing being targeted isn't your wallet, but your very screams? Something to think about.